Hey guys, Mr. Nally Tracks here, and welcome to Nally Tracks. And today I'm bringing you a album review from a Australian artist for once. Actually, this is album 6 by the Australian rapper Kerser from Campbelltown. Now, I have been a Kerser fan for a long time, for a very long time. I have been following him since his Hustle Hard days. You know, if you remember, if you were a Day One Kerser fan, you know that he started off at Hustle Hard TV, and he was doing battle raps way before he became famous for actually rapping on tracks and stuff like that. So, you know, he's been around for a while, roughly 10 years or so, and he plans on making an album every year. You know, so this is album 6. I seriously respect him for that. I respect him. I think he's a very, very hardworking artist. One of the best hardworking, because there's no other artist that I can think of who actually releases an album every year, you know. And I'm not sure if he's actually gonna go through with that 10 albums. And if he does, I'll be even more impressed, to be honest with you, because it's a lot of hard work that people don't get, and that's what makes it even more impressive that he's able to do it each year. So let's get to the actual album review itself. So the album is called Tradition. I like this album. I think, if I'm not mistaken, for me, this has to be his best album. Overall, I think this album was pretty damn good. I think the production, this is the best album in terms of production, and Cinema has, you know, definitely outdone himself, because I've been following Cinema probably way longer than Kerser has. This album to me was, at times it was very confusing to me, you know. It started off very good. I liked the intro. The intro was very funny. It was really hilarious. And you know, it's very true to Kerser. You know, Kerser is sort of like inspired by Eminem a lot, and you can tell by this intro, because it sounds like a lot of skits on Eminem's albums, where it's like he just sounds like he doesn't give a fuck, and he's giving you this raw, non-censored content, and I feel like that's what this album was. But in saying that, in all the praises that I've given Kerser with his hard work and how this album, you know, is actually pretty good, his best work in terms of production and stuff, there is some bad stuff about this album. And one of those is that every album consists of bragging, you know, bragging about making it, being the best, now being rich and all that kind of stuff. And once you actually listen to that, it's in every song, every damn song. And that kind of annoyed me, man. It kind of annoyed me when I listened to it, because every single song consists of him saying he's the man, he's the best rapper, you know, he has paved the way, he's now the greatest, he can't be stopped, he's going to number 1, he has, you know, he has all this money now, like, people used to doubt him, blah 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 blah. And you know, I would be able to handle that if it was just in like 1 or 2 songs, but in here it's in like every single song, you know. And once you actually pay attention and listen to it, you understand what I'm saying. And they're gonna try to attack me because of this and be like, oh, you're just a hater and stuff like that, you don't understand anything. But I do understand. I'm just very truthful with my reviews. I actually try to tell everything how it is, you know. I'm not gonna lie and be like sugarcoat everything, you know. I'll tell you how it is, and that's how you can trust me, because you can always trust me to tell you the truth and not try to sugarcoat it. Once again, you know, and hey, let's start with some of the songs. So one of the songs that I actually like now, which annoyed me at first, and that was God's Gift. You know, God's Gift. Like, I freaking love the production on this beat, this song. I love the beginning, before the actual 808, before the beat drops, excuse me. I love that part, and even when the beat drops, it's still consistently good. I love this beat. It just feels so different, and in some ways feels very nostalgic. But it has a very inconsistent flow. Like the flow is just, that's what annoyed me at first. It's like it feels like this flow he hasn't mastered it yet. So when he's actually rapping in it, like the writing isn't very consistent to the flow, to keep the flow going smoothly. So that kind of bothered me a little at first with my first listen and my second listen. But you know, once I listened to the album a couple of times, you know, because I've listened to it about 5 times or more. I've listened to it on the train, I've listened to it on the bus, I've listened to it, you know, like just sitting down trying to understand it a bit more. And one of the things I found is that this album doesn't actually have a theme. You know, it doesn't have a theme, and I went back and realized that that's most of Kerser's albums. They don't actually have a consistent theme. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is something like, I feel like this album is everywhere. It's just a bunch of songs put together and then called an album. And that's okay, because that's what most new artists albums, you know, they're not very like thought out kind of thing. But it's like Kerser's not a new artist, so I could forgive this, but he's not an artist. He's not a new artist. He's been in here for like 10 years or so, you know. So he should know how to construct a very consistent album with a very consistent theme. Sorry. Hearing him brag about making it in rap on every single song, every single album is a bit too much for me. I think Kerser is at his best when he's talking about something real, you know, real things, stories with grit, you know. Like there was a song in here which he talked about a lady who sent him a letter telling him that he gave his son 4 more years of life, you know. And that was one of my favorite things there. That was one of my favorite songs. And my favorite songs with Kerser are the ones where he digs inside and finds something deep to talk about. That's where, you know, like that song Thank You, which is probably one of my favorite songs from Kerser, and Crash, which is the last track on this album, is just amazing. It's amazing, like, because he actually has a nice hook, nice production, nice, you know, something to say. It was great. So I sort of want to challenge Kerser if he ever watches this, to make an album with a consistent theme, because I don't think he's, you know, I think he can do it, you know. Because he's not a lazy person, and that's evident by the fact that he's making an album every year. You know, I feel like he could actually sit down, think about something, and make an album that is, you know, has an actual theme to it. And one of the things that annoyed me about this album was it was just contradicting. It was like he contradicted himself when it comes to some, like, drugs. You know, one song he talks about giving it up and not doing drugs and not want to influence people to do drugs. And you know, in the previous songs he was talking about popping pills, you know. He's talking about doing drugs and shit like that. So I didn't understand that. It was just, no, like, if you're going to say something, stick by it. Don't just change it the next track. It just it's not good. I'm sure you people are gonna agree with this one, or maybe you won't, or maybe you like this one that I'm about to mention. But there was some very awkward, very unnecessary voice alterations on songs such as This Is For The Streets, where it sounds like he has some sort of auto-tune effect, but that serves no actual purpose. You know, it's just like, this is actually very annoying. You know, like, why is he doing this? The song would actually sound better if he didn't have that on there. So I didn't understand that. It just sounded like a kid who found a new toy and just started playing with it. Like, they didn't even know what to do with it. It was very annoying, you know. It was very, very annoying. This album overall, I think, is an amazing album. His best work yet. I like it because the production is just amazing, and I think Kerser's improving. Yeah, I think he's improving every album, but not in subject matter wise, because he's talking about the same thing in every album, and that's getting a bit, you know, tiresome for me. And I hope he improves. I hope he improves and does something a bit better. But Tradition, definitely one of my favorite Australian albums to date. If I were to name some of my favorite songs, I would say The Real You, God's Gift, with the Bad Guys, featuring JUF, where they just go back and forth rapping, and that was just, it just felt so hip hop like, and I just loved it, you know. Bad Habits was a good song. Crash, like I mentioned, featuring John Andrews, which I believe is also Cinema, I'm not sure. Anyways, this was a good album, and I just hope he keeps improving and tries to make it, to think about his lyrics more, tries to be less contradicting, tries to talk about things other than just drugs and being the best rapper in Australia, being dope the area. But also there was this one line in with the Bad Guys that I actually like, which is this one, like when he was talking about Tracy Grimshaw. If you guys don't know Tracy Grimshaw, she's a host on news. I can't remember which. I can't remember which one it was. I'm not sure if it was a current affair on today. I'm not sure. But she's a host on one of them. She must have said something bad about Kerser, because he went in on this shit, calling her a fucking male with a huge jaw or whatever the fuck. It was funny as fuck. It felt like Eminem, old school Eminem, so I love that shit. He went back to a state where I like, because in the old albums he was just talking about as soon as he made it, he started talking about bragging about what him making it and stuff. And I feel like with his last album, which was like Next Step, he started stepping away from that, you know, no pun intended. He started stepping away from just talking about bragging. He started going back to actually talking about actual things that matter, and I feel like he sort of like continued that on this album, but he also went back a little and started bragging a little too much. And yeah, good album. If I was to rate it, I'd give it a 7 or an 8. I loved it. You guys should go and buy it. Don't just fucking download it. Support Aussie hip hop. And yeah, please subscribe. If you have any suggestions for other albums I should review, or if you want to do reactions to any song, it could be an Australian artist or anybody. If it's good, let me know. Alright guys, Mr. Nally Tracks. Peace out.